ending with verse number 19. So we've completed from the beginning of this chapter, 1 through 19. And now there's another section, at least, the topic-wise, this other section is focusing on a very important and, you could say, it's essential teaching of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Who would like to say what that essential teaching of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is? That which in a few words says what the whole picture of the Vedas is from Mahaprabhu's perspective. Achintya Veda Ved Tattva. I just completed hearing a really wonderful part 1 lecture by Radhika Raman Prabhu, who's a fantastic PhD scholar from Oxford University, and he's now a professor in Utah, and very nice devotee. So in his PhD, for your edification, it was from 3 verses from Paramatma Sandarbha. 3 verses made his whole PhD. Tells you something about Jiva Goswami. Jiva Goswami was a PhD of PhDs. And so he Radhika Raman, is very well conversant in Jiva Goswami's writings, and he said something very simple in this lecture that was on this past weekend from Silicon Valley, or the ISKCON San Jose, ISB. Anyway, the whole of the Sandarbhas, in his words yesterday, is Jiva Goswami's way of creating this big picture, the 6 Sandarbhas, which is a commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam, portraying in fine detail the Achintya Veda Veda Tattva philosophy. He was using the language, he built an edifice, and like a structure, and in these Sandarbhas, saying that the teachings of Lord Chaitanya are the teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam, and the Sandarbhas is a commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam, and the Sandarbhas is a very comprehensive, detailed picture of Achintya Veda Veda Tattva. Some of you have been around for a while, so you know there's 4 sampradayas, and each of the 4 sampradayas has a particular ism, or tattva, or doctrine. For example, in the teachings of Madhvacharya, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in his line. The teachings of Madhvacharya is Dvaitavad. You see a picture of a sannyasi holding 2 fingers up in the air. You know who that is. Dvaitavad. And the teachings of Ramanujacharya, or the Sri Sampradaya, is called Vishishta Advaita. Advaita that has Vishishtas, or attributes. So there's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and there's the attributes of. So there's diversity within that oneness, the Advaita, because that's from Shankaracharya's teaching is absolute Advaita, Kevala Advaita, absolute monism. And then there's varieties of other teachings and other teachings. So it's important for us to understand that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's primary teaching, that which puts the whole picture of the Vedas, or Krishna Tattva, into perspective, and that is, there's this truth that everything is simultaneously one with and different from the source of emanation of that truth. So, like, for example, because this came up yesterday, those things that are bad, we say, or the convention is there's good and there's bad. And, okay, the personality, the source of everything is all good, absolute. So how does bad come from the all good absolute? Because he's all good absolute, right? He's all good absolute. So how can bad come from all good absolute? So there's a different way of looking at that, which comes from the all good absolute. Or here's another one. In the position of the source of everything, there's no even a touch of material. He's all spiritual. But from that all spiritual comes material, creation. Or comes the modes of nature, goodness, passion, ignorance. But in the Supreme, who's the source of everything, there's no modes of nature. They're absent. So Lord Chaitanya's way of explaining that is Achinta Bheda Bheda Tattva. There's an inconceivable, simultaneous oneness and difference of all things in relation to the source from which those things come. And that's his way, that's Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's way of describing truth, tattva. Then there's this oneness and difference relationship between all things and the source. Oneness and difference from. And one more, just going in the same direction, that's the personality of Godhead. What about those that are on the topmost stage of spiritual realization? They don't see good and bad. They see everything in relation to Krishna. They don't see friend and enemy. Although someone may be acting towards that elevated soul as an enemy or as a friend. But they don't, from their side, they don't see friend enemy. They don't see good bad. They don't see devotee, non-devotee. We make distinctions. We're not in that position. We're in the Madhyama position. So the Madhyama position, it's recommended that the Madhyama worships the Supreme, makes friends with the devotees, shows mercy to the innocent, and avoids the demons. Right? You all know this teaching. So we make distinctions. But the Uttama Adhikari person doesn't make those distinctions. They see like Krishna sees. They don't see it's all one. They see there's everything that exists comes from the source of everything. In that sense, there's the abheda, or the non-difference, but then there's simultaneously differences. The jiva is not the purusha, not the parama purusha. Jiva is purusha, but not parama purusha, and so forth. The part is not the whole. It's not absolute oneness. It's some with distinctions. So Prahlāda is a jiva. He's not Bhagavan. But he is speaking to Bhagavan about that which comes from Bhagavan, which is everything. So that's what we're going to be hearing. A little bit in the prayers of Prahlāda, this section is a focus on the Achinta Bheda Bheda Tattva topic or perspective. So here's the translation. Prahlāda to Lord Nṛsiṁhadeva. My dear Lord, everyone in this material world is under the modes of material nature, being influenced by goodness, passion, and ignorance. Everyone, from the greatest personality, Lord Brahma, down to the small ant, works under the influence of these modes. Therefore, everyone in this material world is influenced by your energy, which is true. The cause for which they work, the place where they work, the time when they work, the matter due to which they work, the goal of life they have considered final, and the process for obtaining this goal are nothing but manifestations of your energy. Indeed, since the energy and the energetic are identical, all of them are but manifestations of you. Do you find any flaw, a mistake in what he has just expressed? It's correct. There's a oneness and difference between all things and the source of those things, material or spiritual. So he's focusing in this particular verse on the material, the creation. That which is created from the source. There's that which is eternal, but he's not addressing that. He's just addressing the creation and the activities that living entities do within the creation and the place where they do, and the energy and the paraphernalia and and etc. The material creation is the energy, and you're the energetic. Then this declaration, the energy and the energetic are identical. Now here comes, there's one and there's difference. The energy is not identical with the source of the energy. As far as material creation is concerned, then there's the spiritual creation. But this is the material creation. The energy and the energetic are identical in the sense that the energy exists because of the energetic. Without the energetic, the energy has no meaning. It doesn't have any existence. It exists because of the energetic. And therefore, in that sense, they're identical. The all spiritual has material feature to him. Clear? Let's carry on. We'll see a little bit more. Here is how Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur addresses his commentary on this purport, or this verse. When parents act as protectors, they are nothing but your form. Well, parents aren't the source of everything. Whatever recent persons or ancient persons like Brahma perform is your form or swarup. But in the form of your Maya Shakti, not your real swarup. Oneness and difference. Simultaneously. The place of, and same list, the place of action, the cause, time of action, the cause of the time, the reason, the relationship with others involved, the source of action, the recipients of the action, the performer of action, what is produced, as well as how he does it. These define the action in detail. So there's cause, and there's effect, and there's all kinds of very specific Sanskrit terms that go with all of this. So that's not included in what you see on the screen, but there's technical terms in Sanskrit for each of these items. And the conclusion is, because they're from the Supreme, these items define what action is in detail. That person with individual gunas, that's us, like sattva, pratak svabhava, which arise from you who are without gunas, produces or transforms objects. So like there's the state of Florida, or the city of Fort Lauderdale, and there's a bunch of people running around doing, the drive between Alachua and Fort Lauderdale, unbelievable amount of earth-moving equipment and expanding the highway and this and that, and it's because of living entities within bodies that are doing that stuff. And somebody back there in the office had figured out, hey, we got some money, let's spend it. We'll put some people to work and moving earth and creating highways and yada, yada, yada. So living entities, as it says here, They produce and transform objects. Living entities do that. Without the living entity, you don't produce or transform. Like, the body is because there's a soul present. If there isn't a soul present, there's no body. It's dust in course of time, disintegrates. It's not animate, and it disintegrates. So with life within, then it produces and it transforms objects. Spirit moves matter. But those persons and the objects themselves are all the form of the Lord. And they're not the form of the Lord. But they're of the Lord, and therefore, in that sense, the Lord. That's Vishwanath. There's supposed to be another one. No, it's not. Okay, here's Prabhupada. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Supersoul within the core of everyone's heart, gives inspirations for action according to one's mentality. All of these mentalities are merely facilities given by Krishna to the person acting. Because everyone has a different goal of life, everyone acts differently, as guided by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So here's there's different persons in this painting, but there's also different species, and different species do different things. Looks like the dogs are barking at the ducks in the pond, and so forth and so on. So according to their mentality, the guna and karma of the gross and subtle bodies, they act and interact with one another accordingly. But where's those bodies and the mentalities, the diversity of mentalities come from? From the source. As long as we work according to our material senses, we're in material life. That's material life. The ear and the tongue and the touch and so forth. As soon as we act according to the real transcendental direction of the Lord, our position is spiritual. Very, very different. And that jar is Mahaprasada, by the way. Food offered to Krishna. When one gives up materially designated positions and works directly under the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one's spiritual life is revived. This is described as Swarupa Vyavastati. We heard this phrase a couple times now, isn't it? Swarupa or Swarupena Vyavastati, being situated in one's own form, spiritual form. So even when you have a material body, is it possible? The answer is yes. Is it possible to be conscious of and functioning internally, at least, on the platform of who I really am? Yes. Being situated in one's constitutional position, that's the servant of Krishna. Not delete Krishna from the picture, and you have material life. And you bring the focus upon Krishna into the picture in a spiritual life. It's very simple. This is the real description of mukti, or liberation from material bondage. There's the verse, Canto 2, Chapter 10, verse number 6. And a nice example of this, I had this nice class this morning with the Chinese devotees. We discussed the life of Narada Muni, the 3 lives of Narada Muni, because Narada Muni has super duper memory. I just went through just a little detail. It's a nice detail. Narada Muni is describing to Yudhisthira in Canto 7, Chapter 15, Narada Muni is describing to Yudhisthira. The scene is the Rajasuya Yagya. They're in Indraprastha. Yudhisthira has invited many persons to come to take part in the coronation ceremony of him as the emperor of the world. Rajasuya Yagya. And during that event, he's sitting there with Narada Muni and he asks a number of very intelligent questions, of course, because he's Yudhisthira. And in the course of that, it's a long section, it's mostly the entire Canto 7, all the way in chapter 15, they're still having a conversation. And in the conversation, Narada is explaining who he was in his previous life before he was Narada. And in this morning's class, I narrated something that I had to, now I'm correcting what I said this morning. Narada describes in a previous Mahakalpa, he was Upabarhana, who was a Gandharva. And you all know what Gandharvas are, who Gandharvas are. Gandharvas are singers, musicians, and they're not literally within the same category as demigods. They're subordinate to demigods in their position, but they sing and dance and perform music for the pleasure of the demigods. So the Gandharvas and Upabarhana were invited to a Sankirtan festival by the demigods meant for glorifying the Supreme Lord Vishnu. So when he came, Upabarhana, he was a lover of girls. He loved them, they loved him, woo, woo, woo. It was one of those things. So Upabarhana, as a singer, was singing songs glorifying the demigods, but the demigods wanted to glorify Lord Vishnu. So one of the Prajapatis, who are they generate species in all species of life, including demigods, they cursed Upabarhana. We invited you to this Sankirtan festival glorifying the personality of Godhead. You're behaving like a Sudra. Immediately, you become a Sudra. And boop, he was gone. And he immediately became the son of a Sudra or Sudrani. And that's the lifetime that we know something about. He was raised by his mother, who was the maid servant of a certain place, and a number of sadhus or sannyasis came during the rainy season, and he served them, and all of that nice description. That's part of, but this is a detail. The detail is that it wasn't just a previous day of Brahma, it was a previous Brahma. What's that? You see on the screen here, there's 2.10.6. I invite you, you can look in the Srimad Bhagavatam, and you'll find a 2.10.4, a description of Mahakalpa, Vikalpa, and Kalpa. Kalpa means a different day of our Brahma, or any Brahma. And Mahakalpa means a different life, a different Brahma altogether. So each time there's a creation of a universe, or universes, plural, that's another Mahakalpa, the breathing of Mahavishnu. And the universes come zooming out of his body. So Narada, remembered from a previous Brahma. That's a good memory. Because I was always under the understanding, and I said it wrongly, and somebody very politely tapped me on the shoulder and said, it's a different life of Brahma, isn't it? A different Brahma altogether, Mahakalpa. Not a different day of our Brahma. That's Kalpabheda, different day of Brahma. Anyway, that's a detail. So here's a nice picture or drawing of Narada when he became that Shudra, and that he was trained by the Bhaktivedantas, the learned sages, in the ways of spiritual knowledge during that 4 months that he was with them. And then they left. His mother shortly thereafter died, and so he just carried on. He understood this was a plan of the Lord to make him dependent upon the Lord, and so off he went to the Himalayas, etc., etc., etc. And this is at the end of that life, as the son of a Shudra. He had seen the personality of Godhead within his heart, and then poof, the Supreme Personality of Godhead disappeared, and he opened his eyes from meditation. Where did he go? And then he heard the Lord's voice saying, "You won't see me again for the rest of your life, but please continue, and you'll achieve perfection." Now this is a previous, one more time, it's a previous universe, a previous Brahma. And so he from that body arose this spiritual form, and that spiritual form, when the universe was withdrawn, the end of the universe, he also was in the body of Mahavishnu, the end of the universe. And then the next universe, his exhalation. And with that came the Brahma of our universe, and he became a son of Lord Brahma. Isn't it nice? But okay, that's a detail. Swarupena vyavastiti. You'll find this phrase in Canto 2, Chapter 10, verse number 6. You can look it up. And so that's the stage of spirit. One has spiritual perfection. There's no longer the material identification. But as long as there's a material identification, then those representatives of the Supreme act as mothers or fathers or as doctors or as teachers or as whatever they act as, and they're representing the Supreme. Here's continuation, another subtle feature of that same topic, the Achinta Beta Beta Tattva topic. O Supreme, O Lord, O Supreme Eternal, by expanding your plenary portion, it's interesting language. What's a plenary portion? A Vishnu expansion. So the three Vishnus, they're plenary portions. Mahavishnu, Garbhodakshay Vishnu, Kshirodakshay Vishnu. They're plenary portions. By expanding your plenary portion, you've created the subtle bodies. That's one of the things that Vishnu forms do. They create the universe, and then they create bodies that go within the universe. They don't directly do it, but their energy does it. So you created the subtle bodies of the living entities through the agency of your external energy. So the mind, intelligence, and false ego, that's in the category of matter. Correct? 8-fold material elements: earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence. So it's subtle material. You created the subtle bodies of living entities through the agency of your external energy, which is agitated by time. It's an essential ingredient. It's not, oh, by the way. Time is necessary for creation. We'll say it a different way. Nothing happens without time. Here we are. Before we were here, we were somewhere. And after we're here, we're going to go somewhere. And it takes time to get, for events in the material world, whatever it may be, including creation, takes time. Creation of minds or creation of anything takes time. So the force of Kala Shakti. It's right in the second line, Kalena Chodita. By agitation of time. Thus the mind entraps a living entity in unlimited desires. We'll see this word a few times, so get used to it. Chandomayam. Chandomayam. We're going to hear from our acharyas what the Sanskrit dictionary says, what this meaning of chanda or chando means. Unlimited varieties of desires to be fulfilled by the Vedic directions of Karmakanda. So the Vedas, the source of the Vedas is Narayan. And within the Vedas, there's different details of how to get stuff. No, there's also the explanation of how to become liberated from stuff, entanglement and stuff. But some people don't want that. We discussed it yesterday. They want something a little more slow, please. I want to enjoy and be pious at the same time. Thank you very much. That's what I want. And the 16 elements. Who can get free from this entanglement unless you take shelter of your lotus feet? So it's the network of complexity in material life is created by the Creator, and to get out of that entanglement, the Creator, the devotion, shelter at the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu, please. So you see the last line, samsara chakram aja ko tirtarat tvad anyaha. So we'll hear something about these terms. The time factor is necessary to bring about creation. Along with, so let's go back. Go back during the period of cosmic rest. So the inhalation of Mahavishnu and the entire material elements go back to their subtle state, undifferentiated subtle state, and enter into his body. He's holding his breath. And then he breathes again. And when he breathes again, there goes the elements in their undifferentiated form and the time energy. Where does the time energy come from? The time energy is eternal. The time energy is eternal. Time is eternal in the spiritual realm. And the internal potency, Rama Devi, entrusts the glance of Mahavishnu upon Pradhan, the undifferentiated totality of material elements. She, Rama Devi, entrusts time, eternal time, to that glance. And so through the glance, the living entities, because matter is already there, the living entities are now extended along with time. Because you have to have time to have creation. You have to have time to have things come into being. Even, the cosmic level, you need time. So time energy is there. Kala Shakti, Prabhupada calls it the time factor. All activities in both the spiritual and material world are certainly conducted by the orders of the personality of Godhead through the agency of either material or spiritual nature. So in the spiritual nature, there's eternal time. Things don't come into being and go out of being. They're eternal. And then there's the material realm, and things come into being and go out of being through the influence of material time. Past, present, future kind of time. There's no past, present, and future in the spiritual realm. It's just eternal existence. But eternal existence has variety. Wait a minute. If you're going to have variety and you have spiritual activity, there's no time? Yeah, there's no time. It's eternally going on. Wait a minute. My mind is confused. How do you have activities without time? What's an eternal activity? What is it? It's pastime. It's Leela. It's the spiritual potency of the Supreme Lord in all of his diversities of his potencies through eternal time. And it's so eternally, there's pastimes that are eternally being conducted in the spiritual world. And from time to time in the material world, the Lord displays some of those pastimes. And then people of this world that know past, present, and future, hear about or see or experience those pastimes, and they think, oh, that's the spiritual world. But they're seeing as if it's in the material world. There was a document I was going to circulate, but I decided not to do it because it's too technical. But from Laghu Bhagavatamrita, question. After Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu and Ravana and Kumbhakarna were killed, where did they go? What was their destiny? They didn't attain Sayuja. They didn't become liberated. And they didn't go to heaven. They were freed from the reactions of their bad, sinful activities by being killed by the Supreme Lord. But where did the soul go? That's a good question, isn't it? Our acharyas describe, and it's Laghu Bhagavatamrita says, they went temporarily, this is within time, they went to a neutral place. The river Viraja is the divide, it's a river in between the material and spiritual. So the spiritual side, the other side of the river, that's the Brahmajyoti, the spiritual realm, the Paravyom, the spiritual realm. And within the spiritual realm, the spiritual planets, etc. And then there's the river Viraja, and then there's on this side of the river, where there's matter, modes of nature, guna and karma, and stuff that comes into being and goes out of being by the influence of time. And then there's some things in between. So that's where they went. And they didn't stay there because you can't stay there. So then they again took their birth in a very opulent position with, powers and so forth, which they misused. And then got spanked again. So all of this material spiritual is happening by, it says here the order, one can say by the influence of time, Kala Shakti, and the spiritual and the material side. So, and then for living entities that are in ignorance, there's a few living entities in ignorance, and they're doing stuff. They're out excavating new highways, often the interstate going down here, and they're not many, not so thoughtful about who they're doing this for and what's the ultimate source of everything and what's it all about. And, they're not thinking those things. They're they get a paycheck and they know how to run a bulldozer and build highways. So that's what they're doing, fruitive work, to get some money so they can get what they want with their money. Fruitive activities. So then those living entities are moving, and the intelligence to move and the tools to move with and the this and the that, it comes from the Supreme. And that's what this verse is saying. These two verses are saying. To enjoy the material energy, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, created this material world and gave the living entity the facilities through the 16 kinds of perverted support in terms of, here's the 16, knowledge gathering senses, working senses, that makes 10, right? The mind, that makes 11, and the 5 material elements, that makes 16. Clear? 16. So Krishna provided 16. For what reason? Living entities wanted it. They wanted material enjoyment. They wanted enjoyment apart from the Supreme. Here you go. I don't recommend it, but if you want, here it is. The wheel of repeated birth and death, that's time, created by the Personality of Godhead, is created by the Personality of Godhead, but to direct the bewildered living entity in progress towards liberation according to various stages of advancement, different directions are given in the Vedas. Do this and you go up. Do that and you go down. the do's and the don'ts. So it looks like the good and the bad. And it's like, it's authorized in the Vedas, right? So it's got to be good and bad. But then there's, what's the purpose of that good and bad? Is avoid the downward direction and strive for the upward direction. And you follow the Vedas to strive for the upward direction. Where's that direction taking you? From the mode of goodness, it's taking one towards Shuddha Sattva. What's Shuddha Sattva? Shuddha Sattva. You've heard the term? You'd like to learn a term? Shuddha means pure. Sattva means mixed. Goodness mixed with passion and ignorance. That's, or mode of passion is mixed with goodness and ignorance. Or ignorance is mixed with some goodness. And all the modes mix. There's one predominant one, but there's a mix of the other ones. And then Shuddha Sattva is no mix, pure. Shuddha, like Shuddha Bhakti, pure devotional service. Shuddha Bhakti, Shuddha, pure. So Shuddha Sattva is where the Vedic direction, if properly followed, there's no guarantee, but the potential is that it can take one to Shuddha Sattva. The goal is Krishna. And the closer you get in the mode of goodness towards Krishna in the mode of goodness, then you become a Brahmana. And Brahmana, by definition, is one who knows Brahman. With Brahman, the eternal, Sat. But it's not just Sat, it's Sat, Chit, and Ananda. So it's Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan. That's the conclusion. That's the whole Vedic purpose. And so directions are given within the Vedas from the source of everything to people who want to enjoy the temporary in material life, how to do that in alignment with Vedic, and then one can call oneself Hindu, because I follow the Vedas. And I do the do's and avoid the don'ts, and I follow, because I'm a dharmic follower of the Vedas. At least that's the one is encouraged to strive like that. And so those that call themselves Hindu, or those that call others Hindu, is those who follow those principles of the Vedas. Here's a verse from Bhagavad Gita. You're familiar with Bhagavad Gita. In the beginning of creation, the Lord of all creatures sent forth generations of men and demigods along with sacrifice for Vishnu, saying, "Be thou happy by this yajna or sacrifice, because its performance will bestow upon you everything desirable for living happily and achieving liberation," which is true. Because after dharma, then artha, then kama, if one keeps going, then moksha. You don't have to keep going. You can just stay with the kama program or the accumulation of artha program, and then doing dharma to get your artha, prosperity. But the Vedas are there for that purpose. The material creation by Vishnu, the Lord of creatures, is a chance offered to the conditioned souls to come back home, back to Godhead. We discussed this morning in the China class. The purpose of creation, in one sense, is because living entities wanted it. But in another sense, it's an opportunity by the Supreme Lord to give living entities at least the chance. They may not be in the human form of life, but if by evolutionary process they may come to the human form of life and then act like humans, not just have two legs and two hands, but having a human life. Human life means following varnashram, following these codes of the Vedas. That's a human life, and living in a dharmic life. Varnashram dharma is Vedic. And then there's Daivi Varnashram. That's a nice topic, Daivi Varnashram. But back to what says on the screen, what's the purpose of creation? Giving living entities a chance to enjoy, giving the living entities a chance to go back to Godhead. Supposing in a previous creation I messed up, opportunity after opportunity after opportunity, and took birth again and birth again, and here's another creation. What's that for? So you can become purified and go back to Godhead, ultimately. And along with this, like a user's manual called the Vedas. How to. So here's from Bhagavad Gita, this same text. Lord Vishnu, in the beginning of creation, provided men with all necessities to live happily and achieve liberation. So it's a nice chart. There's men and demigods and sacrifice to Vishnu. It's a nice chart. It's a very nice chart. Down at the lower bottom, in Kali Yuga, there's process of sacrifices, Sankirtan. There's sacrifices that are mentioned in the Vedas for people who want to attain stuff and material prosperity. And then there are those processes of sacrifice meant just for the satisfaction of Vishnu, and the satisfaction of Vishnu best accomplished in this age by Sankirtan. And then there's other things that we do in our life besides just Sankirtan, but in those other things that we do, it can be directed towards the same objective. It's a big boost. It's like rocket fuel. It helps us lift from the darkness of material existence towards the spiritual realm through Sankirtan, by that process of sacrifice. In other Vedic ages, the Vedic process of yajna, very common. Swaha, with mantras and da-da-da, swaha. Anyway, the fire is the tongue of Vishnu, and in the tongue of Vishnu, or into the tongue of Vishnu, there's offerings, oblations, grains and ghee offered to the tongue of Vishnu, along with mantra, sound vibration that says what the intention behind that gift to the tongue of Vishnu is. And it's effective. Whether it's propitiating the demigods or worship of Vishnu, it's also done. There are Vaishnava homas. Worship Vishnu for this and that and the other thing. Bring auspiciousness to whatever it is. But spiritual auspiciousness to whatever it is that one wants to do, and a yajna for this and a yajna for that. So, Sankirtan yajna is recommended. And those dharma activities are progressive towards liberation. And this is a nice picture of Sankirtan yajna. Okay. Nice drawing on the left. That's a nice drawing of the Bhakti Lata, the creeper of Bhakti. The fallen, conditioned living entity, trapped by the external energy, loiters in the material world, but if by good fortune he meets a bona fide representative of the Lord who gives him the seed of devotional service, and if he takes advantage of such guru or representative of God, he receives the Bhakti Lata Bija, the seed of devotional service. If he properly cultivates Krishna consciousness, he is then gradually elevated to the spiritual world. Now, gradually can be really gradually, but also be swiftly. Depends on the intention behind the practitioner or the follower of the codes of the Vedas, or the one who's absorbed in the holy name, or the activity of worshiping the deity form, etc. The intensity, the focus, makes a big difference. Here's Jiva Goswami's commentary on this verse. Everything is dependent on the Lord, and He is their only protection. Maya and its form as karma creates the mind. course, we heard how the elements, including the mind, are created by Mahavishnu. But this is how Mahavishnu may act in the matter of creation is through the material energy. That's Maya. Who can surpass the wheel of samsara made of desires? There's this phrase, chando mayam, again, without attaining your mercy, which is rare. Answer, no one can. And Vishwanath says something very similar. The language is different. Lord Nṛsiṁhadeva may say, if I am the form of everything, then I am also samsara. Why do you want liberation from my form of samsara? This is answered in 2 verses, starting with this one. Maya, your external energy, creates the subtle body. So Jiva Goswami was just saying the mind, but it's indicative of the subtle body, the subtle body. The covering on the jiva made by mind, Mahatattva, and other elements. She, Maya, makes mundane and Vedic activities made of Maya. These are difficult to overcome. She has gunas, which are agitated by the glance of the Lord's expansion. Chando mayam means made of desires. The Sanskrit dictionary, Amarakosh, says chanda means verses or desire. This becomes the wheel of samsara with 16 transformations taking shelter of avidya. Who can overcome it? Those separate from you, those who do not worship you, cannot overcome it. Your pure devotees, however, can overcome it. They can overcome it because Krishna picked them up. It's not at their strength. It's Krishna's mercy picks them up. Last verse. You see different colors of these different letters. You see in big orange letters, there's Kala again. My dear Lord, oh, Supreme Great, you have created this material world of 16 constituents, but you are transcendental to their material qualities. Remember the theme? Achintya Bheda Abheda Tattva? How does material come from an all-spiritual supreme? But you are transcendental to their material qualities. In other words, these material qualities are under your full control, and you are never conquered by them. Therefore, the time element is your representation. Important. My Lord, O Supreme, no one can conquer you. As for me, however, I am being crushed by the wheel of time, and therefore I surrender fully unto you. Now kindly take me under the protection of your lotus feet. So bhakti is in the superior or superlative position. Guess, that's a very nice message. Very nice message. Many of you are familiar, just to amplify this point, many of you are familiar with the story of Jai and Vijay being cursed by the 4 Kumaras. So when they were super austere, they were fully Brahman realized, but they weren't Mayavadis. They were just like absorbed and immersed in Brahman. But they didn't have this attitude that Vishnu is made of Maya. That's what Mayavadis say. His body is Maya. They wanted to see the form of Vishnu. And they had the power to go all the way to Vaikuntha. And when they reached Vaikuntha, how many gates? 7. When they passed through those 7 gates, were there gatekeepers at those 7 gates? There's no mention of gatekeepers. But there was a gatekeeper at gate number 7. What does that mean? Are we to understand something from that? And the answer is yes. The seventh gate is the only persons allowed to enter Vaikuntha are those that have pure bhakti. The other gates, there are other qualities that one must have. And there were no gatekeepers, at least there are none mentioned in that section of the Bhagavatam. But when they got to the gatekeepers, the gate number 7, Jai and Vijay had they stopped them. You're not to enter. It didn't say specifically, you don't have bhakti yet. Because later they got bhakti. How did they get bhakti? That the personality of Godhead, hearing that they had been cursed, he came immediately. They didn't go inside Vaikuntha. He came outside the gates of Vaikuntha, and they saw him. And then not only they saw him, they became filled with bhakti. They became filled with bhakti just by smelling the fragrance of two things: his lotus feet and the tulsis that were at his lotus feet. By smell, they became bhaktas. Sometimes we're offered a flower that's offered to the deity, or sometimes little the incense, the oil that's offered to the deity, and then we're given this little fragrance, or put some on your wrist or something like that. That's all they had, because they were very pure, but they weren't bhaktas yet. But they became bhaktas just by that experience. And that's what Prahlāda is wanting. He's saying, he's characterizing himself as a non-devotee, and I want bhakti. Not exactly, I want through that seventh gate. I want bhakti. Whatever you want to do with me, give me your devotional service. Take me under the protection of your lotus feet. I surrendered fully to you. The time element is your representation. Among subduers, I am time, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. So he, through his time energy in the material world, he subdues everyone. Everyone becomes destroyed. Time, I am the great destroyer of the world. I have come here to destroy all people. Chapter 11 and chapter 10. So time is very important. And I'm being crushed by the wheel of time. Every living entity in the material world is actually being crushed again and again. To be saved from this position, one must take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then we'll be happy. It's true. So why must he take shelter of Krishna? Because here is Prabhupada's purport to this verse. When we give up our constitutional position, Jiver Swarupaya Nityara Krishna Das, or Krishnera Nitya Das, the personality of Godhead creates the material energy and her influence over the conditioned soul. Therefore, he is the supreme, and only he can deliver the conditioned soul from the onslaught of material nature. Mam eva ye prapadyante, etc. That's what the verse is saying, and we're nearly finished. Prapanam. What does prapana mean? Who can say? Surrender. Surrender. Unless one fully surrenders to the Supreme Lord, one cannot be saved from being crushed. Even an expert swimmer will never be able to swim across the ocean of material existence. We need mercy of Krishna and his devotees. Nice. Very nice. And 3 verses. But a lot of philosophy. I mean, Chinta Veda Veda Tattva is a complicated tattva. It's a complicated teaching. Because, it encapsulates the whole of the Vedas, that everything and the source of everything, and the relationship between everything and the source of everything, and the simultaneous oneness and difference. One may emphasize the difference. One may emphasize the sameness. Mahaprabhu is emphasizing simultaneously both. And how do you simultaneously hold opposites in your mind? Guess what? You can't. Like a computer is a sophisticated mind. It's a system of ones and zeros, the artificial intelligence. System of, it's this or that, on or off. It's a binary processor. How can it be a simultaneously one and a zero? There's no such computer. It's either this or that. And Lord Chaitanya is teaching simultaneously this and that. He's inside of everything and outside of everything. Like, the Upanishads is a classic of, he's simultaneously both things. He's bigger than the biggest and smaller than the smallest, simultaneously. One can maybe be big, one can maybe be small, but simultaneously bigger than the biggest and smaller than the smallest, no. Krishna, yes. How? Achintya. Oh, you Krishna guys, you just you're not at all philosophical. It's either one or zero. Because that's binary processors can handle that. But that was beyond the binary processor mind. What's that? The Supreme. It's a nice understanding. And when you take that understanding and apply it to anything, and it's understandable. You don't apply it to anything, and it's perplexing. There's much more to say, but that's a little too much for right now. So let's see if there's some discussion. Comments? Yes?
I have two questions.
Two? Okay.
Yeah. The first question pertains to you mentioning that the pastimes of Krishna they are eternal in the spiritual world.
Yeah.
But we also learn that the pastimes are going on in this material universe eternally somewhere.
That's different. They're similar, but they're different. In other words, like specifically, some place Krishna is appearing, and then another place Krishna is appearing, another place in this universe. So it's eternal in that sense. It's always going on. And then the eternal of the spiritual world is a different kind of eternal.
Okay, so they're not the same. They're not the same.
They're different.
Okay, thank you. And my second question is pertaining to Jay and Vijay. You mentioned that they were not, quote unquote, delivered the first time, second time, only the third time, and Krishna killed them.
Yeah.
So they went back to the spiritual world.
They went back to the gates of Vaikuntha.
Right. So after that, when they came back, or at least what we hear in the Chaitanya Charitamrita as Jagai Madai, so that means they came from Vaikuntha. They weren't in the river Viraja.
Let's do this. Jai and Vijay in Gaura Lila are the same. In the spiritual world, I invite you one time, take a close look at the painting that Prabhupada had the artist depict Goloka. Look closely at Goloka. Look closely at the corolla inside the center of the lotus, and you'll see over there in the corner, there's Lord Chaitanya and his associates. Which means that the Lord Chaitanya's pastimes are eternally going on in Goloka. And those associates of his are also with him. And when he comes, they come.
Okay, so Jay and Vijay, when they come as Jagai and Mother, do they come from Vaikuntha or Goloka?
They come from Vaikuntha, but they have their place in Goloka also.
Simultaneously.
Ah.
Okay. Thank you.
When you're Krishna, there's no restrictions of time and space.
Thank you so much.
You have very thoughtful questions. I like your thoughtful questions. Yes.
Maharaj, Pranam. I have a less thoughtful one. Could you please explain this one more time? I kind of didn't understand this. If I'm the form of everything, then I'm also samsara. Why do you then want liberation from my form of samsara? The two verses. I didn't quite understand that.
Should we go back?
Please, if you don't mind. Sorry.
Okay, I don't mind. I don't mind at all. It's Jiva Goswami's way of saying what's being said elsewhere. Let's see where that one is. Huh? 2 slides later. This one? Vishwanath. Okay, I'll read it slowly. Quote, if I'm the form of everything, then I'm also samsara. Why then do you want liberation from my form of samsara? This is answered in 2 verses. That's your question. Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Here's what he writes. Maya, your external energy, creates the subtle body, the covering on the jiva, made of mind, mahatattva, and other elements. She, Maya, makes mundane and Vedic activities made of Maya. These are difficult to overcome. She has gunas, which are agitated by the glance of the Lord's expansion. Chando mayam means made of desires. So, because of desires separate from the source of everything, that's material. And the material continues and continues through samsara. So his form of samsara is a material feature of forgetfulness. So why do you want freedom from this material feature of forgetfulness? Because it's forgetfulness. I want remembrance, please. And not only the samsara, but everything that goes along with it.
Understand.
The temporary.
Thank you.
Okay. You have something else?
No.
That was it?
That was it.
Okay.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Yes. Up front.
Thank you, Maharaj, for the wonderful class. My obeisance unto you. I have the question has...
Same question.
I want to understand the eternity of Goloka. So if Krishna is like a baby and he grows up, and how that there's no time there, and
There's no time.
So-
There's no baby.
there's no baby Krishna.
No. Because baby means birth. There's no birth. There's no birth pastime.
So the Laddu Gopal, the Laddus and everything, there's no...
In Goloka, what is Krishna's form? Youthful, eternally youthful. But youthful doesn't mean baby. Youthful means youthful. Like 16, youth. He eternally like that. Now, these pastimes of Braja, as a baby and just being bound by the ropes by Mother Yasoda, stealing butter and all that, those are Braja pastimes. There's a sweetness of the Braja pastimes that are of Krishna, they're within Krishna, but not manifest in Goloka. We'll say the same thing a different way. Everything exists within Krishna, including his childhood pastimes in Braja. But they may not be manifest. They're not. The spiritual creation is not manifest, although it's within Krishna. The potency is within Krishna. In Goloka, he's eternally youthful.
So that manifests in material world.
Yes, it's special.
It's very
It's special. So it's nice to be in the material world, right?
Thank you so much, Maharaj. I learned this today.
Okay.
I'm very grateful.
Okay.
Another question is, you were talking about Jay and Vijay. When Krishna kills, they go to Vraja river. At what point they go to Vraja river?
When they leave their body, where's the soul go?
Every time when Krishna kills them, they go there?
Not every time. Once in a day of Brahma, they come. And when they're killed, that's where the soul goes. a neutral place. It's neither here nor there.
God.
Clear?
Yeah. Another question. Maharaj.
It's not bondage. It's not the bondage of birth and death. They don't stay in Viraja. They come to this place again, but with great opulence. I mean, maybe I will circulate that document. It's a little complicated, but the devotees here like to run with complicated stuff, it seems. So go ahead. You have another question.
Yeah. So related to Mahavishnu, Kshirodaka Vishnu and Garbhodayaka Vishnu, we hear it more in the purports, Maharaj, but I'm not sure where is their reference to it. Because many people ask that. We don't hear this.
Many people ask what?
That we don't know if there was these 3 Vishnu expansions.
You don't know?
When we read the purports.
You want to know where to read it?
No, I want to know where the references are.
Yeah, that's where to read it.
Yeah.
Okay. There's many places. A good starting place, listen carefully, a good starting place is Adi Lila chapter 5. Because these 3 Vishnus and Anantashesha and Sankarshana are expansions of the original Nityananda or the original Sankarshana. Adi Lila chapter 5. But you'll hear more details about these 3 Purushas. You'll find in Canto 2, Canto 3, the process of creation, they're described. You have to read carefully, but it's there.
So it's in Gaudiya Vaishnava literature only.
No, Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam.
Thank you.
But what is the Gaudiya? You say like Gaudiya Vaishnava is like that's over in that area of.
I was thinking Chaitanya Charitamrita.
But that's Gaudiya Vaishnava literature.
Yeah.
So, but Gaudiya Vaishnava literature doesn't fabricate. The references of what Krishnadas Kaviraj says has source in the Vedas. He's not, going on a creative writing spree. There's reference in the Vedas. So you want to know where in the Vedas, not in Chaitanya Charitamrita, but where in the Vedas. So that's okay to ask that question. And is there an answer? There's definitely the answer. Let's do this. Besides the Gaudiya Vaishnava position, let's go to the Sri Vaishnava position.
Yeah.
And the deity of Sri Ranganath. Who is that?
Narayan.
Narayan. But he's lying in the causal ocean. The form of Narayana lying in the causal ocean. Who's that? Mahavishnu. And they worship Mahavishnu. But Mahavishnu doesn't have a goddess of fortune because Mahavishnu, Ramadevi, is within. But then there's forms where there's a lotus and Brahma appears. So that's Garbhodakshai Vishnu. It's in the Vedas. It's not fiction. It's not fabrication. So you want to know where you can read about it. That's what you're asking. Mm-hmm. And I'm saying in the Srimad Bhagavatam.
Canto 5.
No, and if you had a nice English translation of Vishnu Purana, you'll find it in Vishnu Purana abundantly also. But we don't have I don't have English translations of Vishnu Purana. But it's in Vishnu Purana. It's in the Puranas. But we have, because the followers of Lord Chaitanya admired particularly Srimad Bhagavatam, and within Srimad Bhagavatam it says this is the Amala Purana, and it's a commentary on Vedanta Sutra, which is a summation of all the Vedas. Therefore, we give special importance to Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay,
Thank
microphone
you,
up here. No, whoa. Up here.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj, for the wonderful class. So this topic was talking about Achintya Bheda. And then you started by talking about Sri Sampradaya, where they are Vishishta Dvaita. And then our Sampradaya is Achintya Abheda. What about Rudra Sampradaya?
What about it?
What is their doctrine?
I can't remember. I left it out because I wasn't sure. I could say something, but I'm not sure, so I'm not going to say something unless I'm sure. But you can look it up. You want to know a place where you can look it up?
Yes.
You want to follow her? And where's the scriptural source for that? There's a Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Some of you someday, if you haven't already been, you'll go to Mayapur. And when you go to Mayapur, likely, depends on how long you stay there, but likely you'll visit the headquarters or the principal place of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, the Chaitanya Gaudiya Math. The Chaitanya Gaudiya Math is a place where Gandharvaka Giridhari, the deity, is worshipped. And in that same compound is the place where Bhaktisiddhanta chanted 1 billion names for 9.5 years. He took a vow and it did like that. So on that temple, I remember going back years and years and years ago, has been renovated and changed a little bit, but on the four corners of the temple of Gandharvaka Giridhari, there's the four sampradayas. Murtis of the acharyas of the four sampradayas on each of the four corners. And it goes along with a teaching of Bhaktisiddhanta in elaborately how the four sampradayas, principal teachers and teachings of those sampradayas were incorporated into one by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teaching of Chinta Bheda Bheda Tattva. Now, you're asking for the name of the Rudra Sampradaya and Kumara Sampradaya. What the name of their doctrine? I can't remember. But you can look it up. And a good place to look it up is, there's a book, The Four Sampradayas, by Bhaktisiddhanta, and gives us the scriptural reference where, they say what they say. And the scriptural reference for them to say what they say. But it's a doctrine. It's not exactly, they interpret, or they have an understanding, a lens through which they look at scripture, and that doctrine determines the lens. And that's how they look at the scripture. The scripture doesn't change. They view the scripture through that lens. So that's the book.
Thank you.
The Four Sampradayas.
Thank you very much.
But yeah, I see your hand, but there's some other people that didn't get a chance to speak yet. You had your hand up? Who else? Okay.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you so much for all these 5 past days. There's just so much to take in, and I think I had to go back and really deeply, carefully listen to everything. But my question I had yesterday was that, you know how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is coming in this just 500 years ago, this Kali Yuga,
Yeah.
and it's called Golden Age of Kali. But Kali Yuga comes over and over again.
Yeah.
Not all the Kali Yugas are Golden Age.
Right.
So in those Kali Yugas, Mahaprabhu still came, but he didn't.
No.
He didn't.
He comes after Krishna comes. And Krishna comes once in a day of Brahma.
Okay.
During the 7th Manus, 27th Yuga cycle, 28th Yuga cycle. So, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes just after Krishna comes. In this particular Yuga cycle. In the Kali Yuga that follows the Dwarpa Yuga when Krishna appears. And not otherwise. So your question is, what's that method? The method is the same, but the propounder of the method is not Lord Chaitanya. For each Kali Yuga, there's the same, scripturally. Hare Nama, etc. And they don't have the same propounder, because the propounder, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, didn't just advocate chanting. He exhibited the heights of ecstasy of Radha in her pursuit of love for Krishna. And that's recorded in Chaitanya Charitamrita, based upon the eyewitnesses of those very, very, very elevated, esoteric exhibitions of his love, and how he acted and what he said, and it's recorded by Krishnadas Kaviraj in Chaitanya Charitamrita. So others propagate the Yuga Dharma, but they don't exhibit the symptoms of love of Radha that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did. More?
So then, this Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself. Even the other Mahaprabhus are Krishna himself, but
Which other Mahaprabhu are you talking
in different.
It's not another Mahaprabhu. It's somebody, I don't know who appears in the other, 70 versions of the Kali Yuga cycle besides this one, besides the Mahaprabhu one. I don't know. But someone, at least according to scripture, someone who is advocating Hare Nama, but not called Gauranga or Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Krishna Chaitanya, not him. Someone. Okay?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna, thank you Guru Maharaj for nice class. My question is Maharaj, so regarding her question that in Goloka Vrindavan, the Krishna is always like above 16, like at least 16, not baby Krishna.
Yeah, youth.
So,
Yovana.
yeah.
Yovana.
So-
Nitya Yovana.
Yeah, so Maharaj, there are 5 rasa, Shanta rasa, Dasya rasa, Vatsalya rasa, friendship, and
Yeah.
so my question is related to parental rasa.
What about it?
So devotees who are in parental rasa, when they go back to like Goloka Vrindavan,
Why not?
so will they like
They don't have a little baby, that's all.
okay.
You can have affection without having a little baby. All right?
Thank you, Maharaj. One more thing. So
Sure.
today's verses are expansion of that Bhagavad Gita 7.14 verse. Daivi heyasha gunamayi mama maya nuruttaya. So basically it's telling that we can overcome the 3 modes of material nature only by surrendering to Krishna.
Yeah.
So can you tell little bit about the surrender process?
Can I say anything about what?
The surrender process, how to...
How to? You want to know how to?
I know. So I wanted to say, other than Sadhu Sangha, you want to tell it a bit more.
You can use other language, but it comes down to the same thing. It's you follow the teachings of Bhagavad Gita. And when you follow the teachings of Bhagavad Gita, that's surrender. So follow the teachings of the Bhagavan. He is the source. What he says, that's it. The servant wants to please the master. So what does the master want? Read Bhagavad Gita. That's what he wants. And you do that. Like this whole discussion yesterday, kind of round and around and around about karma yoga. There's nothing wrong with performing prescribed duty. Perform prescribed duty. And always think of me. That's bhakti. That, the last verse. Anyway, so the elements of the lower stages or the preliminary stages of the topmost stage, they're included in the topmost stage, but with just a very, very specific focus. Is your question answered? Okay. Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. I have a question about the spiritual world. You mentioned there is no past, present, and future in the spiritual world. Time is eternal, right? So my question is, why we call past times?
Why not?
Like the word past is there. Is it because there is no...
Because we're in this, we live in the material world and we see in terms of past, present, and future. So we say past times.
So in spiritual world...
The Sanskrit is lila. Mm-hmm. He performs lila in the spiritual world. So we say pastimes.
So it's only for our material... Because there is no other word.
There's no sense. The Sanskrit word is perfect.
Okay.
Lila.
And my continuation question is, so when you say the pastimes are eternal, so because there are many devotees in spiritual world, so Krishna expands himself.
Why not?
And then does the same pastime there?
Well, why not? I mean, it doesn't have the same, different variety and, whatever he wants.
Okay.
And he reciprocating love. That's the main business. The main activity is reciprocation of love. So, and is love static or dynamic? Very dynamic. It's always diverse and always ever. It's like the phrase used by our acharyas is like a Vaidurya stone. Many colors. And even as you're looking at it, it changes color.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, my question was very similar to what Mataji asked, but I need some clarification. Going back to the Lord's manifestation in Goloka Vrindavan, we know
Okay,
that.
let's go.
So he's eternally useful. Okay, I understand that. But I always had this question that in the killing of Putna, we learned that she was liberated and she got a position of a nurse's.
But he was assisting Mother Jashoda. Be careful with your language.
Right, assisting Mother Yashoda. Right.
Yeah.
So then in the spiritual world, if she's assisting Mother Yashoda, and if Krishna is not in the baby form, then what does Mother
Why
Yashoda
not? Mother Jashoda can have a zillion people helping her because Krishna is, so no problem. Doesn't matter age. Assistance can be, those. How many mothers do you know? There are lots of mothers, and they be motherly towards a little baby or a little child, but someone's like a teenager, then they're motherly towards a teenager. No problem. No problem.
So then it's okay, Mother Yashoda.
It's a rasa.
Okay.
It's a loving exchange, a taste that goes with a particular type of affection. It's not conjugal.
Right. So
It's
she's
parental.
parental and Krishna as a youth. Okay. Because I was under the impression that
No,
Krishna was
don't.
always a baby.
Let go. Let go of that one.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Holiness Rama Maharaj